So this was back in college. I had joined one of those freshman Facebook groups before I got to school, so that maybe I could meet a few friends before actually going to school. I posted and got like 6 friend requests. One of them we'll call Jill. I get to school, and about the 5th day of classes, Jill randomly messaged me hi. Innocent enough, I messaged back. She then wanted to meet up after like 10 minutes of talking. I was in college after all, and she was cute. Why not? We meet up in front of an academic building and sit on the steps and just talk about this and that. What's your major? Where are you from? Normal stuff like that. Then the conversation lags, and we sit there for a moment, and then she slides really close to me and whispers, "If there's any sexual tension you need to release, I'm here." Whoa, whoa, whoa. Some guys are cool with that. But going from 0 to penetration in 30 minutes is a little fast for my taste. I awkwardly mumble, "Thanks," and say that I have to get going. Foolishly, we exchange numbers and part ways. Over the next few days, I get an absurd torrent of texts from her wanting to hang out. And it couldn't have been more of a turnoff. I'm a guy, yes, and I like sex, but this is just too much. I vowed never to stick my dick in crazy, and I was living by that motto. I tell her several times I'm not interested and consider blocking her number, but I had a dumb phone back then, and you'd have to call up Verizon and go through a whole process that was time consuming, so I just settled for blocking her on Facebook and just ignoring her texts. Then she started showing up at my dorm after class. I would tell her that I have to study and brush past her. I'd be in the cafeteria and get a text from her saying, "I see you, that red shirt looks good on you." And I'd whip around real quick to see where she is, but I wouldn't see her. Just really creepy shit. She tapered off after a while, occasionally sending an apology text, which I ignored. Then the next day she'd send me a picture of a stack of condoms saying, "Look what I just found, LOL." Out of the blue one day, I get a text from her saying, "Have sex with me." I ignored it like usual. Nothing out of the ordinary from her. But then this came up with a twist. She followed up with, "I'm going to tell them you raped me." Stunned, yet unmoved, I went to sleep. A few days later, I get a knock at my dorm door. I open it, and there are 2 campus police officers standing there with my RA. They say, "Are you RE Tard 1S?" I say yes. They say, "You need to come with us." It was so embarrassing being let out by the police officers. Everyone in my dorm was staring in silence at me. I sit down with the detective, and my first sentence is this anything having to deal with Jill?" And the detective says, "Yes. She's accusing you of rape." I hem and haw and throw my hands up in the air and explain to him what's been happening and that I haven't touched the girl, and I go to pull out my cell phone and show him the text, but I had left my phone back at the dorm. I ask if I can retrieve it, and he reluctantly says yes. He probably thought I was going to make a run for it, but I wasn't under arrest, so he couldn't keep me. I get the phone and come back an hour later and show him the text from her and the sheer volume of shit that she has been sending me. He kind of eased up once he realized I might be telling the truth. He didn't even ask me, "Where were you on the night of such and such?" which I thought was a good sign. They bring her in for questioning and confront her with the text from my phone. And she broke down and confessed it was a false accusation. Guess what happened to her? Absolutely nothing. No fine, no probation, nothing if you don't count a no contact agreement, my school's version of a PPO. I was very upset at that, but was glad this big ordeal was over. For the next few years after the order expired, she would call me from various numbers, make fake Facebook profiles, and try to talk to me pretending to be a hot Romanian girl or a hot Asian girl, and I would quickly call her out on her bullshit. Now I hear she's married, and I hope, on all that is holy, that we never meet again.
+20 age lady human here. I dress differently sometimes. Fashion is part of my hobby, and as a result, I sometimes go outside into the wild wearing poofy, lacy dresses adorned with ribbons and bows. Why? Because it's cute as fuck, I like it, and I look good in it. Of course, when you're wearing something that unusual in public, you need to expect questions, attention, and stares. Those things are all okay. You see something odd, and of course, you're going to give it attention and maybe have questions. Feel free to approach me, ask about what the heck I'm wearing, and 10 out of 10 times I'll smile and be happy to tell you about it if you're nice, that is. However, as is usual with most unusual things, you also get people screaming, "What the fuck are you wearing?" or "How much, little Bo Peep?" Catcalls, and things like that are actively ignored. It's better to pay them no attention than to give them the satisfaction of any sort of reaction. This morning, however, I was put into a situation where I needed to give someone a reaction. I dressed up nicely, a cute dress with bows on my head, shoes, and a cardigan. One of the cardinal rules of the fashion is to dress with as little skin showing as possible. Plus, it was chilly and raining, so I was dressed warmly from head to toe. I looked fab. I wasn't going anywhere crowded, just a quick trip to pick up some hair products and electronics. This beauty shop I frequent is right across the parking lot from a Radio Shack, where I was looking to pick up the rest of my spoils. So there's me, walking out the door, crossing the lot to get to my destination, when suddenly, this car comes barreling into the lot diagonal from me. I stopped in my tracks because it was going faster than he should have been, so I was waiting for it to pass in front of me before I crossed to go into the store. But it didn't pass me. It stopped right in front of me. For a quick second, I thought they were just dropping someone off, then was speed away. Nope. The car was right in the middle of the lot where people drive, and the driver parks, gets out, and walks around the car towards me. All I could say was a confused, "You're so beautiful," the guy burst out suddenly. I was kind of concerned, as his vehicle was right parked on the open drive. Plus, he was immediately giving off some bad vibes. Thanks. I forced a smile. I don't think you can. I started trying to let him know he had parked like a shit. "I saw you, and God said to me, you were meant to marry that girl." First off, I say, "Oh, did he now?" like I'm interested in knowing more. Second off, in my head, I'm like, "Son, you don't even know how old I am." Third off, what middle-aged guy drives a minivan like that and isn't already married with kids? This guy must have been in his 40s or 50s. Either way. "He did. I knew it the second I saw you. You're just so cute. A vision of innocence and purity." Okay, stop. I audibly snorted, not even caring at this point. I'm glad he totally knows how pure and innocent this 20-something-year-old woman is, and all about the nasty his future wife chosen by God has done. Thanks so much. I'm glad you think so. I managed to smile while trying to maintain a polite air, but I'm not sure I'm ready for that kind of a commitment right now. I joked, trying to make light of it and making a move to walk around him. He straight up fucking blocks me from moving. God told me that you would be the one I would marry, he said seriously. Who are you to go against God? Someone who wants you to get the fuck out of the way, was my reply. No patience left. You make a threatening move like that, and you do not deserve my good graces. At this point, I shouldered my way past him, and am heading towards the door. I get inside, and it's only the cashier in there, because who the hell goes to a box-sized Radio Shack at 10 in the morning? Who looks kind of concerned. I make eye contact with her, and know she'll have my back if anything goes. He grabs my arm. He had followed me inside. Hey, I just wanna... I pulled away like a prissy frilly mongoose. Don't touch me, I said, moving backwards towards the counter. He has the audacity to look angry, which pisses me off even more. I just wanted to know if you'd like to go for coffee and talk us over, he says in a raised voice. It confuses me as to why a stranger would raise his voice at me like I've caused him such trouble. God told you to marry me? I asked loudly, matching his tone. Yes, he said, his face suddenly changing back from Mr. Hyde to Dr. Jekyll McFuckoff. That's interesting, because I'm already married, which is the part where I whipped up my left hand and pointed to my ring. He was silent for a quick second before announcing, That's fake, that's not a wedding ring. And indeed, it was white gold with a sapphire surrounded by diamonds. But what the fuck is it to you, crazy man? He took a step towards me. Okay. Flatten out your hand with your fingers curled slightly under, thumb out, middle finger slightly extended from the knuckle, and hit him hard and fast, just like your mama taught ya. Unfortunately, the ring was on my left hand and I hit with my right, somewhere underneath his collarbone. I think that was enough to convince him that his pure, sweet, innocent future wife was just Satan's harlot in disguise. He kinda stumbled back, I'm not even sure if I heard him or not, turned around, walked out, and proceeded to get back into his illegally parked vehicle and peel away. The cashier had already dialed the police, but unfortunately, neither of us got his plate numbers. Damn it. The cashier freaked out and asked if I was okay, which I was, but just shaking from anger. I did, however, go get the parts I needed while I waited for the cops to show up. No use wasting a trip. The cashier was super nice, and we laughed a bit, and she said she liked my clothes. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't just a little scared, though. Exasperated, I waited for the police to show up and give them my story of what happened. I gave a description of the guy and the vehicle he was driving. I told the officer I just wanted to go home and lie down. He was super nice and told me to be careful going home. So I'm home now, safe and sound. I hope that fucker is somewhere with the police hot on his tail, and whatever the fuck voice who told him that I was the one he would marry now screaming in his ear, who's your god now? And I'm sitting here, still dressed up, with a delicious cup of tea and a story to tell. Bitchin'.
Sweet young girl versus old creeper. I worked as a retail worker back when I was 18 in a small town. The store I worked at was popular since the nearest grocery stores were 20 minutes away in each direction. Growing up, I was gangly, and not a very pretty girl. But I grew into my own about this time this story took place. Being low on self-esteem, any attention a male gave me was appreciated to an extent. One day, an older man comes in and just starts chatting, very friendly. I thought nothing of it, as I was a sweet, naive girl. He started coming around more and eventually became a regular. I enjoyed talking to him. He seemed lonely, and I was bored and liked having someone to talk to about frivolous nonsense. I was very bubbly and full of life, and older men seemed to gravitate towards me, like moths to a light. This instance is not the only encounter I've had. A few months later, my car's transmission died, and he offered to let me have his Harley Davidson edition truck, painted to match his Harley perfectly. It was a gorgeous truck, but being as it was not a cheap vehicle, I declined profusely. I was seriously uncomfortable. He was a 60-year-old plus biker. hairy everywhere except his head, so I called him Grizzly Bear. One day he asked my name. By this time he started giving me the heebie-jeebies. I tell him a fake name as a code to my boss/best friend to help a sister out. We would use code names in clubs or bars as a signal to each other so she knew what was up. My code name was Roxanne. She came over and relieved me of duty, and I ran into the office and hid. Several weeks later, he came in again. Unfortunately, someone used my real name and he got mad. Until I lied and said my name was Roxanne, but I sometimes went by my middle name, Kaylee. A few weeks later, he asked me to dinner. Seeing the terror in my eyes, he said, "Just as friends," as if that should make it better to be stuck with him. He said I could invite my friends, so I reluctantly obliged, since I was still so young and naive, and didn't want to hurt his feelings by saying no. How sweet of me, right? Ugh, stupid girl. So I invited the same friend, who had a creepy date of her own. Friends that creepy date together stick together. Anywho, I foolishly gave Grizzly my number so we can meet up at the restaurant. He managed to go to a completely different restaurant with a completely different name. At this point, I had been at the correct restaurant for about an hour, annoyed because I didn't like this situation anyway. So when he did show up, I was angry and not hungry. "Hey," he stated cheerfully as he sat down. What are you gonna eat?" "I'm not hungry anymore," I flatly stated. I was tired of being nice to this creep to save his feelings. "Then why did I even come here? And what the hell is this?" as he points to my friends. "This is a date. You don't bring people with you to a date." Surprised at how quickly that escalated, I set him straight, telling him that 1. He said I could bring a friend. 2. He even said it wasn't to be a date, but a friendly outing. And 3. He was over 60 years old. I was 18, as if I couldn't find someone my own age to date. As my words were meant to hurt, he stormed off, and I thought that'd be the end of that. A few days later, he left an envelope for me at the register at work. I opened it and 4 cards. 4 cards purchased from the very store I worked in were inside. Each said some varying words of, "I'm sorry," I was stupid, "Please forgive me," whatever. Weeks later, he sent flowers. I should have refused them, but I had never received flowers before, so I accepted. I thought the note that said Roxanne was just to say who it was to. So, months later, I was cleaning out my car and noticed the note was actually a small envelope with a note inside with his new number, begging for another chance, so on and so forth. He would send his friends in to check on me, in his truck, like I was stupid or something. Finally, I quit my job and never had to deal with him again. 8 years later, I am more hardened to the world and will never put myself in that kind of situation again. I want to thank you for watching, and I will be coming out with more content in the coming weeks. If you like this video, feel free to check out my channel and my Let's Talk series, and subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button. If there is a specific topic you would like me to cover, feel free to contact me here on YouTube and on Twitter. There will be a link below in the description. And once again, thanks for watching.